What's up, Power 106.3 FM listeners? I'm your host, Mr. Animated, and this is Dee's Corner, all things lyric.
106.3 FM.
What's up, my fellow readers? I'm your host, Mr. Anime, and this is Dee's Corner, all things literary. Thank you for tuning in to Power 106.3 FM KY Radio. You can follow us at Dee's Reading Corner on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Online at www.kyheartmedia.com, YouTube at Power 106 FM KY Radio, and all streaming platforms. This week's book selection is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. I want to thank our sponsors, Mirrorball Media Brand Group and Diamond Elite Design Customs, and as always, my special co-host, Miss Knight from Meeting in the Ladies Room.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Louisville, Kentucky? Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, on Sunday to Dee's I always want to say Dee's Reading Corner. I feel like we need to change the name, but she'll probably kill us. Thank you guys for tuning in to Dee's Corner Radio here live on Power 106.3 FM KY Radio. Here in Old Louisville, where we are proud to be a resident of. We are here, as always, every Sunday at the top of the hour at 7 p.m. Hopefully you guys were enjoying some of our playlists that happens every Sunday from 6 to 9 p.m., I believe. We're going to get some more music put in there. Definitely family-friendly and fun. And close out the week with some fun. What you think?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think so. I think I like it, especially with right now with everything going on. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in. As my handsome host, Mr. Animated said, we are still talking about Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. We are on book 3, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yes.
We went back and forth, y'all, this past week about this movie and book. Like, we really got into this one.
We watched it several times.
We watched the movie several times, y'all. So, definitely, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely stay tuned in all month long, starting next week, because all of May, we still will be covering Harry Potter and the series, and of course, the Wizarding World. So we will touch on Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. We also are giving away 2 $50 gift cards.
So we just giving one.
No, we're giving away 2. I felt that we're giving away 2 of them. Boss Lady said 2. We're giving away 2 $50 gift cards at the end of this thing. How do you win those gift cards? All you have to do is tune in every week and watch or listen to the show. There's going to be a question that will get posted on our Instagram or on our Facebook. So you got to go follow both. You can follow both at Dee's Reading Corner. That is DEES Reading Corner. Look for the post that has the book cover. 10 p.m. Sunday night, the question gets posted. First person to answer correctly, first off, you win a $10 gift card from Diamond Elite Design Customs. But Mirrorball Media Brand Group is going to give away a grand prize on May 31st. 2 $50 gift cards. So every week that you enter, it's more chances that you can win the $50 gift cards. So I need you guys to go follow us and enter those contests. So definitely thank you for tuning in once again. Mr. Animated, take it away.
We will now be taking a quick break.
Engine number 9 on the New York Transit line. If my train goes off the track, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Let's go, let's go. 106.3 FM.
Welcome back to Dee's Corner, All Things Literary. As I said before, our book this week will be Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And as always, here's my lovely co-host, Miss Knight from Meeting the Ladies Room. How you doing?
I'm doing good, darling. So, the why we chose the book. So, usually we tell you guys why we picked the book, but last week I feel like we kind of really covered that. But once again, for those who did not tune in last week, you can go and find the live stream or the live audio on www.kyheartmedia.com, speaker.com, or the app. Look for Dee's Reading Corner. You can always find our audio there. And we are now going to be putting our live streams on Meeting in the Ladies Room Radio YouTube channel. So we are going to publish those live streams. We're going to start back live streaming these shows. So you can go find us on YouTube for Meeting in the Ladies Room KY Radio. That is Meeting in the Ladies Room KY Radio on YouTube. I believe our live streams also can be found on our Facebook page, and we put clips on our Instagram also. So that's Dee's Reading Corner. You can find those live streams. But last week we talked about the fact that the magicalness of the world that J.K. Rowling created, and how big of a phenom this thing has become, and how it's still even going, and how people are still like waiting for like more books or more movies. And it's like, okay, the Harry Potter part's over, so right now we're into the Fantastical Beasts thing, but that's gonna end soon too. So it's kind of like, I don't know, y'all. She might not. I mean, right now they're still focused on that. So the why we picked the book, I think we kind of covered it really good. But I just think that the imagination and it being so different and diverse, and it being relatable is like a really huge thing for me.
Well, the reason I chose this book is because this book is a good example for the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. Because several people were accused of things.
Okay.
So, they literally were blamed for things that they never did, and were judged based on what other people's actions were.
Very true, very true, very true. That is true. I think also, if I was gonna pick a phrase, yes, keep your friends close, but your enemies even closer. Because some of the stuff that came out in this particular book starts answering questions that you didn't quite get or understand why, the whys or the hows in the first two books. So Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets, and the Philosopher's Stone introduced a lot of stuff. And yes, it started taking a little bit of a darker turn in Chamber of the Secrets, but with Prisoner of Azkaban, it went all the way. Like, it gave you the dark, everything. It gave you a lot of answers, which then lead into book number 4, year number 4, as they label the books, year number 4. The Goblet of Fire, which we will be covering next week. It really starts answering some things, because there's stuff that they kind of touched on in Prisoner of Azkaban that leads to answers in year 4. So yeah, I think that definitely would be my phrase. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Absolutely. All right. So I know you're going to go into a 10-minute reading of this reading selection. So go ahead. We are reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. Mr. Animated.
Chapter 1, Owlpost. Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. For one thing, he hated the summer holidays more than any other time of the year. For another, he really wanted to do his homework, but was forced to do it in secret, in the dead of night. He also happened to be a wizard. It was nearly midnight, and he was lying on his stomach in bed, the blankets drawn over his head like a tent, a flashlight in one hand, a large feather-bound book. A History of Magic by Bathlinda Backshot. Propped open against the pillow, Harry moved the tip of his eagle feather quill down the page, frowning as he looked for something that would help him write his essay. Witch burning in the 14th century was completely pointless. Discuss. Non-magic people, more commonly known as muggles, were peculiarly afraid of magic in medieval times, but not very good at recognizing it. On the rare occasion they did catch a real witch or wizard, burning had no effect whatsoever. The witch or wizard would perform a basic flame-freezing charm, and then pretend to shriek with pain while enjoying a gentle, tickling sensation. Indeed, Gwendolyn the Weird enjoyed being burned so much that she allowed herself to be caught no less than 47 times in various disguises. Harry put his quill between his teeth and reached underneath his pillow for his ink bottle, a roll of parchment. Slowly and very carefully, he unscrewed the ink bottle, dipped his quill into it, and began to write, pausing every now and then to listen, because if any of the Dursleys heard the scratching of his quill on their way to the bathroom, he'd probably find himself locked in the cupboard under the stairs for the rest of the summer. The Dursley family of number 4 Privet Drive was the reason that Harry never enjoyed his summer holidays. Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and their son Dudley were Harry's only living relatives. They were muggles, and they had a very medieval attitude towards magic. Harry's dead parents, who had been a witch and wizard themselves, were never mentioned under the Dursleys' roof. For years, Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon had hoped if they kept Harry as downtrodden as possible, they would be able to squash the magic out of him. To their fury, they had been unsuccessful. These days, they lived in terror of anyone finding out that Harry had spent most of the last 2 years at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The most they could do, however, was to lock away Harry's spellbooks, wand, cauldron, and broomstick at the start of the summer break, and forbid him from talking to the neighbors.
The separation from his spellbooks had been a real problem for Harry, because his teachers at Hogwarts had given him a lot of holiday work. One of the essays, a particularly nasty one about shrinking potions, was for Harry's least favorite teacher, Professor Snape, who would be delighted to have an excuse to give Harry detention for a month. Harry had therefore seized his chance in the first week of the holidays. While Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and Dudley had gone out into the front garden to admire Uncle Vernon's new company car in a very loud voices so that the rest of the street would notice it too, Harry had crept downstairs, picked the lock on the cupboard under the stairs, grabbed some of his books, and hidden them in his bedroom. As long as he didn't leave spots of ink on the sheets, the Dursleys may never know that he was studying magic by night. Harry was particularly keen to avoid trouble with his aunt and uncle at this moment, as they were already in an especially bad mood with him, all because he received a telephone call from a fellow wizard 1 week into the school vacation. Ron Weasley, who was one of Harry's best friends at Hogwarts, came from a whole family of wizards. This meant that he knew a lot of things Harry didn't, but had never used a telephone before. Most unluckily, it had been Uncle Vernon who answered the call. Vernon Dursley speaking. Harry, who happened to be in the room at the time, froze as he heard Ron's voice answer. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? I want to talk to Harry Potter. Ron was yelling so loudly that Uncle Vernon jumped and held the receiver a foot away from his ear, staring at it with an expression of mingled fury and alarm. "Who is this?" he roared in direction of the mouthpiece. "Who are you?" "Ron Weasley," Ron bellowed back as though he and Uncle Vernon were speaking from opposite ends of a football field. "I'm a friend of Harry's from school." Uncle Vernon's small eyes swiveled around to Harry, who was rooted to the spot. "There is no Harry Potter here," he roared, now holding the receiver at arm's length as though frightened it might explode. "I don't know what school you're talking about. Never contact me again. Don't you come near my family." And he threw the receiver back onto the telephone as if it dropping a poisonous spider. The fight that had followed had been one of the worst ever. "How dare you give this number to people like you," Uncle Vernon had roared, spraying Harry with spit. Ron obviously realized that he had gotten Harry into trouble because he hadn't called again. Harry's other best friend from Hogwarts, Hermione Granger, hadn't been in touch either. Harry suspected that Ron warned Hermione not to call, which was a pity, because Hermione, the cleverest witch in Harry's year, had Muggle parents, knew perfectly well how to use a telephone, and probably would have had enough sense not to say that she went to Hogwarts.
So Harry had no word from any of his wizarding friends for 5 long weeks, and this summer was turning out to be almost as fast as the last one. There was just one very small improvement. After swearing that he wouldn't use her to send letters to any of his friends, Harry had been allowed to let his owl, Hedwig, out at night. Uncle Vernon had given in because of the racket Hedwig made if she was locked in her cage all the time. Harry finished writing about Gwendolen the Weird and paused to listen again. The silence in the dark house was broken only by the distant grunting snores of his enormous cousin, Dudley. It must be very late, Harry thought. His eyes were itching with tiredness. Perhaps he'd finish this essay tomorrow night. He replaced the top of the ink bottle, pulled an old pillowcase from under his bed, and put the flashlight, a magic of the history of magic, his essay, quill, and ink inside it, and got out of bed and hid the lot under a loose floorboard under his bed. Then he stood up, stretched, and checked the time on his luminous alarm clock on his bedside table. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. Harry's stomach gave a funny jolt. He had been 13 years old without realizing it for a whole hour. Yet another unusual thing about Harry was just how little he looked forward to his birthdays. He had never received a birthday card in his life. The Dursleys had completely ignored his last 2 birthdays, and he had no reason to suppose they would remember this one. Harry walked across the dark room, past Hedwig's cage, large empty cage, to the open window. He leaned on the sill, the cool night air pleasant on his face, after a long time under the blankets.
Hedwig had been absent for 2 nights now. Harry wasn't worried about her. She'd been gone this long before, but he hoped she'd be back soon. She was the only living creature in his house who didn't flinch at the sight of him. Harry, though still rather small and skinny for his age, had grown a few inches over the last year. His jet black hair, however, was just as it had always been, stubbornly untidy, whatever he did to it. The eyes behind his glasses were bright green, and on his forehead, clearly visible through his hair, a thin scar shaped like a bolt of lightning. Of all the unusual things about Harry, this scar was the most extraordinary of all. It was not, as the Dursleys had pretended for 10 years, a souvenir of the car crash that had killed Harry's parents, because Lily and James Potter had not died in a car crash. They had been murdered. Murdered by the most feared dark wizard for 100 years, Lord Voldemort. Harry had escaped from the same attack with nothing more than a scar on his forehead, where Voldemort's curse, instead of killing him, had rebounded upon its originator. Barely alive, Voldemort had fled. But Harry had come face to face with him at Hogwarts. Remembering their last meeting, he stood at the dark window. Harry had to admit he was lucky to even have reached his 13th birthday. He scanned the starry sky for signs of Hedwig, perhaps soaring back to him with a dead mouse dangling from her beak, expecting praise. Gazing absently over the rooftops, it was a few seconds before Harry realized what he was seeing. Silhouette against the golden moon and growing larger every moment was a large, strangely lopsided creature, and it was flapping in Harry's direction. He stood quite still, watching it sink lower and lower. For a split second, he hesitated, his hand on the window latch, wondering whether to slam it shut. But then the bizarre creature soared over one of the street lamps of Pivot Drive, and Harry realized what it was, leapt aside. Through the window soared 3 owls, 2 of them holding up the third, which appeared to be unconscious. They landed with a soft flump on Harry's bed, and the middle owl, which was large and gray, killed right over and laid motionless. There was a large package tied to his legs.
Harry recognized the unconscious owl at once. His name was Errol, and he belonged to the Weasley family. Harry dashed to the bed, untied the cord around Errol's legs, took off the parsley, and then carried Errol to Hedwig's cage. Errol opened one burly eye, gave a feeble hoot of thanks, and began to gulp some water. Harry turned back to the remaining owls. One of them, the large snowy female, was his own Hedwig. She too was carrying a parcel and looked extremely pleased with herself. She gave Harry an affectionate nip with her beak as she removed her burden, then flew across the room to join Errol. Harry didn't recognize the third owl, a handsome, tawny one, but he knew at once where it came from, because in addition to the third package, he was carrying a letter bearing the Hogwarts symbol crest. When Harry relieved this owl of its burden, it ruffled its feathers importantly, stretched its wings, and took off through the window into the night. Harry sat down on his bed and grabbed Errol's package, ripped off the brown paper, and discovered a present wrapped in gold, and his first ever birthday card. Fingers trembling slightly, he opened the envelope. 2 pieces of paper fell out, a letter and a newspaper clipping. The clipping had clearly come out of the Wizarding newspaper of Daily Prophet, because the people in the black and white picture were moving. Harry picked up the clipping, smoothed it out, and read, Ministry of Magic Employee Scoops Grand Prize.
All right, so that is the first part of our reading selection, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Today, we will be right back with you guys. We are going to go to a quick song break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to get back into more of this book. What's up, Facebook world?
they gonna be trying to keep up. Players only, come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Hit the top so clear. Look out. Second verse for the hustlers, gangsters, and this is just that with the friends. I can't breathe, I gotta show them how I can get it in. First, take your steps, do your dip, spend your money like money ain't cash. Ooh, we too fresh, let's bring it on Jesus. Take it from me, I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're picking up the money. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they don't be trying to keep up. Players over there, come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. What y'all trying to do? What you trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. So clear. Look out. Everywhere I go, they be like, oh, so bad. Everywhere I go, they be like, oh, so bad. Everywhere I go, they be like, oh, so bad. Now, watch me break it down. What's that sound? Come on now. 24 karat magic. Don't fight the feeling, invite the feeling. Just put your pinky rings up to the moon. What y'all trying to do? Tell me we can try to do 24 karat magic in the air. So clear. Put your pinky rings up to the moon. What y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. So
You are tuned into Power 106.3 FM KY Radio Live. Streaming on www.kyheartmedia.com.
What's up, Power 106.3 FM listeners? I'm your host, Mr. Animated, and this is D's Corner, all things lyrics.
We're going to come back to it. I know you ready to get it in, but we're going to come back to that. I'm sorry.
Welcome back to D's Reading Corner, all things literary. I'm your host, Mr. Animated, and as always, my lovely co-host, Miss Knife, and me in the Louise room. How you doing? Hey, about the show so far?
I'm liking it so far. I'm definitely ready to talk about the difference between the book and the movie. Yeah. Because as we just started off reading, the book starts off completely different than the movie does.
It does. It truly does.
So I'm definitely ready to get into that, but I know you need to go ahead and announce our follow information and our sponsors.
You can follow us at D's Reading Corner. That is DEES Reading Corner on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Online at www.kyheartmedia.com. YouTube at Power 106 FMKY Radio, and all streaming platforms. Our sponsors are Marywall Media Brand Group and Diamond Elite Design Customs.
All right, so it is time. Really?
Yes, it was needed.
It was needed? Okay, if you say so, sir. All right, so that's our 5 facts for the 5 fives of the week we are going to get into. So this is the time that we talk about all the things and the facts and different things that we found out pertaining to a specific book and any of its literature, culture, and, you know, the phenoms that they become a lot of times. When books are turned into movies or TV shows, they generally turn into cultural phenoms. So we definitely want to give you guys information that you may not even know is actually like out there. So I think we should start with the facts of the books. I know you got tons of facts about the movies.
I have a few book facts and a lot of movie facts.
I know. So generally, it's my job to find out the facts about the books, and you find out a lot of the facts about the movie. So let us start with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Of course, is a fantasy novel written by British author J.K. Rowling, and it is technically the third book in the series. Now, the reason I say technically is because Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is the prequels. So, depending on how you look at it, it's where the books go. This book follows Harry Potter, a young wizard in his third year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. He begins to investigate Sirius Black, an escaped prisoner from Azkaban, the wizard prison, believed to be one of Lord Voldemort's old allies. This book was published in the United Kingdom July 8th, 1999, and then in the United States September 8th, 1999. This book sold 68,000 copies in 3 days of its release in the United Kingdom and has since sold over 3 million in the country. This book won the 1999 Whitbread Children's Book Award, the Bram Stoker Award, and the 2000 Locus Award for Best Fantasy Novel, and was shortlisted for other awards, including the Hugo. The film adaptation of the novel was released in 2004, grossing more than $796 million and winning critical acclaim. And video games loosely based on it were also released on several platforms. Also, Mr. Animated, what you got?
Okay, here's a fact about when the movie was first premiered. Everyone in the audience cheered when Hermione punched Draco Malfoy in the face.
Yo, I was shocked that she did it. I ain't even gonna lie. But in the book, though, how it's written, I think the book really makes you anticipate and see that was gonna happen. Definitely.
But here's the scene behind. But here's a fact about behind the scenes for that. She apologized. She was not really expected to do that. She was intentionally supposed to slap him.
Oh, wow. Wait a minute. So she wasn't supposed to punch him in the face?
No.
Oh, wow. So that's like a straight up unexpected. She went off the script and punched him in his face. For real. Wow. Okay. So let me go back to wow. I didn't know that. Okay. So let's see. Let's go back to the book. As we first talked about, Chamber of Secrets, which is the second book, was actually published in 97. Mm-hmm. No, let me take that back. Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone, depending on which copy you have, was published in 97. The second book, Chamber of Secrets, was published in 98. So she started writing as Prisoner of Azkaban the day after she finished the Chamber of Secrets. So she literally went from one book to the next book. She said that her favorite aspect of the book was introducing the character Remus Lupin. She also additionally said that in 2004 that Prisoner of Azkaban was the best writing experience she ever had. She was in a very comfortable writing space, writing number 3. Immediate financial worries were over, and the press attention wasn't quite excessive, yet.
A fact about the director. Mm-hmm. After he was picked, Alfonso Cuarón asked the 3 lead stars to write an essay on their characters. Emma Watson wrote a whopping 10 pages. Danielle, I don't know why that name's so hard. Daniel Radcliffe wrote 1 page, and Rupert Grint didn't write anything.
Oh wow! So they're
Grint was the only smart one who went, "What, are you going to fire me?"
Oh wow! He asked if the director was going to fire him. Okay, so he's a little bit of a rebel there. I see. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you guys some facts about the movie. of course, it's the third installment. It was written by Steve Close and produced by Chris Columbus, David Hyman, and Mark Radcliffe. Now, as we said, that it did follow the third year, but it clearly starts off different. The book starts off with Harry realizing it's his birthday and thinking back over some things, and he's sneaking and doing his work.
But in the movie,
it starts off where you see him working on some stuff, but then it goes into the next day where the aunt shows up.
Aunt Margaret.
And he blows her up.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I feel like she deserved that one, though.
Oh, she truly did. She really did.
Okay.
What she called his mom was unnecessary.
It was very necessary, but we're going to come back to that. So, as I stated, it was released June 2004. The film was in North America. In the United Kingdom, it was released May 31st of 2004. It was the first Harry Potter film to be released into IMAX theaters, also using IMAX technology. It was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Original Musical Score, Best Visual Effects at the 77th Academy Awards in 2004. Once again, it grossed a total of $796.7 million worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film of 2004, and received tons of praise for the director and the lead actors. It marked a notable change in the film series' tone and directing and is considered by many of the critics and fans to be one of the best Harry Potter films. So, all right. So, at the time, Prisoner of Azkaban was the longest book in the series at the time of publication. The increase in plot complexities also had a looser adaptation far as I think the movie. Like we stated, finer plot lines, backstory, it gave a lot of stuff to work with. So I think that's one of the things that immediately, if you read the book and then watched the movie, you notice immediately. Like we said, the film opens with Harry, using magic to light his wand in short bursts, whereas in the same scene in the book, he uses a torch flashlight, as performing magic outside of the wizard world is illegal for wizards under the age of 17.
Well, apparently it is legal for him to use the luminous spell.
The connection, one of the things in the book and the movie was talking about the connection between Harry's parents and the Marauders map is only briefly mentioned, as is Remus Lupin's association to both the map and James Potter. Additionally, it was never mentioned who the Marauders were or who the nicknames Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, or Prongs referred to. In the movie, they touched on it a little bit more. There were things that were only briefly mentioned in the film, like the Shrieking Shack and Scabbers, where in the book, they talked a little bit more deeply. So when in the movies, and first of all, we forgot to give our spoiler alert.
I love giving spoilers.
Spoiler alert, because I'm about to say something. So in the movie, you see where Harry says, I have a sneaking suspicion of where he saw the dog take Ron, and he took Hermione and got to the Shrieking Shack. That's the reason he already had knew about the Shrieking Shack, because it was touched and talked about in the book a little bit more. So that was one of the things that I did notice that they did not talk a lot about. It did receive more coverage. Most of Sirius Black's backstory is also cut, with no mention to the manner of his escape from Azkaban, because in the book they do tell you how he did it in the book. So for those who have read the book, spoiler alert, in the book he realized that in his say it for me, Animagus form, that the
Dementors can't harm him.
The Dementors they didn't know that he was human.
Animals.
They couldn't harm animals. And so they didn't know that he was actually like a prisoner. So majority of the 12 years or 13 years that he spent in Azkaban, he figured out by staying in that form, they couldn't harm him. They couldn't give him the Dementor's kiss and, do things to him.
There are conditions for Dementors.
Right. Dementors definitely have conditions, and there's backstory on Dementors that was talked about in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. In the book, also only the first Quidditch game was kept in the film. They didn't have the second one or the third one because I think in the book there was actually 3 Quidditch games. Also, Harry receives the firebolt at the end of the movie, whereas in the book he received it during Christmas time to have it confiscated for a few weeks to be checked out for possible jinx and stuff by Professor Flitwick and Madam Hooch. So that was another difference that did happen.
I have a fact about the scene where he blows up his aunt.
Gus, go. That was hilarious.
Actor Harry Mealing lost so much weight that his character, Dudley Dursley, was almost recast.
Ooh.
His job was spared when the studio decided that he could wear a fat suit.
Wait a minute. So the kid who played Dudley almost got recast because he lost too much weight?
Yup.
Oh,
They just wanted to make
wow.
him fat, pretty much.
But I mean, that's how the character was written. He was written as being a mean, sloppily, chubby, just mean kid. Like, he just was mean.
Also, another spoiler alert.
Go
I'd
ahead.
like to say something. It's about Sirius Black. He was stalking Harry in a sense, but he wasn't really going for him. He was going for Ron Weasley's rat.
Well, I think part that the movie didn't get was that he, quote unquote, was stalking Harry, but he was watching over Harry. Spoiler alert. He's Harry's godfather. So
Yes.
he was concerned, but he also was looking for the rat, Scabbers. Spoiler alert. Scabbers is the person who betrayed
And is a human being.
and is a human being. He is also an animagus. So I think that a lot of the book did cover that type of stuff, whereas the movie didn't really get into it. It just made you feel like this criminal got loose and he's trying to get Harry to kill Harry. He's stalking him to kill him.
And once again, what I said, never judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
Perfect example.
So another thing on the account of time considerations that the film did not cover was the descriptions of the magical education. Only one hippogriff, Buckbeak is seen, and only Malfoy and Harry are seen interacting with him during the Care of Magical Creatures lessons. And most of their other lessons included all of Snape's potions classes were cut from the scene.
Also, another fun fact about Buckbeak. He was portrayed by a beak on a stick.
Oh, because he was CGI, wasn't he?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
Let's see. There was the Fidelius charm. Complicated description is removed entirely from the film with no explanation given of exactly how Sirius is supposed to have betrayed the Potters to Lord Voldemort. Many of the scene's lines are redistributed amongst Cornelius Fudge and Minerva McGonagall in compensation. McGonagall's exposition of the Animagus transformation is instead given by Snape. In the film, where Harry and Hermione have traveled back in time or are hiding outside of Hagrid's hut, it's heavily implied that Dumbledore somehow knows that they are there as he distracts the other characters at key moments or slows down the proceedings, such as by suggesting that he signed Buckbeak's execution order as well, and then after Fudge agrees, he says it will take some time as he has an extremely long name, which allows Harry and Hermione time to free Buckbeak unseen. In the book, Dumbledore merely comments that the executioner must sign the order right before he's about to leave the cabin to execute Buckbeak. I think the only other thing that I found was different was about the romantic connection between Ron and Hermione. It being more prominent in the film than in the book. It was different. Like, you really seen that there was this tension, especially when she went to the dance with the guy. And
nope, wrong book. You're going ahead.
I'm moving too fast. Okay. Well, in this one, I mean, I don't know. Let's see now. But there's other things. Is the other thing that's missing is about Harry's crush on Cho Chang is removed. It's not actually seen. She's not seen to the next book, to the next movie, but it's mentioned in the book. It is talked about in the book, but I just think that there was stuff that was missing from the book from the movie that was in the book that could have kind of helped, so that when we got to the next film, it would have made more sense. And then I think the only other thing is that Harry's darker side is first glimpsed in the film when he talks about he hopes that Black finds him, because when he does, he's going to be ready. I'm going to kill him. That whole line. In the book, I don't feel like it has such a dark tone to it. But I know you got a couple more facts, and then we got to move on.
I have 2 more facts. One is about Sirius Black, and one is about Dementors.
Okay.
The symbols that appeared under Sirius Black's wanted posters translated to more or less human, which is kind of what got me thinking, wait, more or less human. Oh, wait, no, I understand why they said it now. Because he's an animagus. He can turn into a wolf. And also, he doesn't really like doing that, because according to him in the movie, the feet are murder.
Okay.
And the fact about the Dementors are that the Dementors are necessarily like dogs. They follow commands. So wizards commanded them to work at Azkaban prison.
Mm-hmm.
Some Dementors, they work for Voldemort because he decided that he was going to give them
freedom.
In a sense, yes.
Almost a freedom of choice. Their loyalty. Well, how I read it was almost like their loyalty switched. Some Dementors, their loyalty switched because of the need to want to torture and do stuff to people was greater in them.
And also because the Death Eaters couldn't necessarily help them. So, it kind of worked as a it was beneficial to both sides.
Beneficial.
Yes, beneficial.
Beneficial to both sides. So I guess that was my thing, was in the movie, you really could not, because at that point is when they first said the Dementors had to be on campus, correct? Yes, but they had to be on campus during Chamber of Secrets too, but it wasn't like a prevalent thing in that book to me.
But they could not pass the gates. They could only be on campus grounds. They will not be able to go past the gates. If one went past gate, something would happen.
Okay, that's the second or the third?
This is about this movie.
The third, well, the book and the movie.
Dumbledore said that no
Dementors weren't supposed to be allowed past the gates. Okay, but what about with Harry getting basically attacked by them? Like, me and you kind of went back and forth about this. And anybody that is tuning in, if you are watching the live, thank you. You can go and jump on our live at Dee's Reading Corner on Facebook. Jump in the comments, because we were debating this part about the fact that the Dementors, to me, kept attacking Harry. And why were they attacking Harry? Which really, in the movie, they did not say why. They just said that they have this need to make people unhappy. And
they take all the happy
and the joy out of you and leave you with nothing but misery. Your thought process on why they did that was?
Because for them, I think they sense more of the Voldemort part of the film so that they could pretty much multiply themselves, because the Dementors, they do not breed. They can only multiply.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
They multiply from despair, hopelessness, stuff like that.
So the more happiness they suck out of people, the more of them that kind of like split off, almost like they copycat.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess my thing was, it just seemed like they purposely.
Oh, and also they were not. Harry went past school grounds. He went too high, because I'm assuming that conditions.
Well, I'm saying, like, for example, on the train.
Oh, he was not on school grounds.
He wasn't on school grounds, but I'm saying, what was the purpose? If they're searching for Sirius Black, why did that Dementor attack Harry? It didn't attack anyone else.
Because I'm assuming
everybody that was in the train car room said they felt like that cold, like
they'll never be happy again.
feeling, but they didn't actually like attack them. They gave or tried to
Peter Pennington. That is why. Because the mentor noticed that Peter Pennington was there. It wasn't because of Harry, it was because of that rat.
I don't know. I feel like it's more to it. And I feel like we need to look more into that. And I'm hoping because we're going to be able to talk a little bit more in depth about some of the stuff we're not saying right now, because it is got a lot to do with book or year 4, which the next book is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So there's things that we can't say right now because it gets revealed in that book. But I just feel like it's deeper than that, because just even in the movie, if you remove the book, in the movie, it attacked Harry. They attacked Harry over 3 times.
First time was on the train. Second time was Quidditch. Third time was when he was saving his godfather.
Correct. But my thing is, even though if you say he went too high, he was still on. I think it was 4 times.
I think it was 4 times because when they went back in time, I'm counting that one as well.
Okay. But you saying during the Quidditch match, he was still on school grounds, even though he was flying.
I don't think Quidditch field's on school grounds anymore, though.
But in the book, it's still school grounds. In the book.
But I also think he went past it, too.
I don't know. We're going to have to see. Now we're going to have to watch it again. We don't watch this movie so many times.
Wait, yeah, he was off school grounds. He went past the Quidditch field because when I seen it, he literally disappeared when he fell.
I don't know. But even if he was off of school grounds, what's the purpose of it? Scabbers wasn't with him. So you can't say it was because of Scabbers. It attacked him. Why? I want to know why. I need somebody to be able to tell me why the Dementors kept attacking Harry.
They might have wanted to finish the job off.
I think that those are Dementors that were working for Voldemort. Nobody said it, but I believe that's what it was.
But they can't really take orders from him anymore. He was literally on his deathbed.
But think about what they're saying, that Lord Voldemort was coming back in his own way, or he was trying to find, or his people was trying to, I don't.
Right, my bad. I'm sorry. That was a huge spoiler. Not meant to say that.
Hopefully nobody paid you no attention. You know what, y'all? We are going to take a quick commercial break because my host over here, he is slipping. He is giving out major spoilers. Hopefully nobody caught that. We are going to leave that alone. Well, we are going to be right back. For those that are tuned in on the Facebook Live, thank you guys for tuning in. If you got comments or things you want us to read off your comments or things you want to say about this, definitely comment below. Please share this, tag people, get your kids, get in on this because we still got a little bit more than 45 minutes left for the show. We've extended the time during the Harry Potter series because it's so much to cover. We're definitely going to do some more reading and do a little bit more dialogue about this. So once again, today we are talking about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So definitely get in on this. We will be right back. And you're dancing. He's dancing, y'all.
Don't judge me.
I'm not judging you. Hey, downstairs. All right, so for those tuned in, we are giving away a $50 gift cards. So you have chances to win 2 $50 gift cards on May 31st by tuning in and watching and listening to the show. We are going to post a question tonight, 10 p.m. on either our Facebook or our Instagram page about today's show. If you first person to answer first off wins a $10 gift card to Diamond Elite Design Customs and also is entered into the drawing for May 31st for one of or both, depending on how many times you enter. If you do this every week, we're giving away 2 gift cards, $50. Can't beat it, y'all. So I need you guys to go follow us at Dee's Reading Corner. That is DEES Reading Corner on Facebook and Instagram. We will be posting the question tonight. Look for the post with the book cover. The question will be posted. It will be a question for something we said tonight. And every week until May 31st, we will post a question from each show. And every week you can enter the drawing for the May 31st drawing of the $50 gift cards and win $10 from Diamond Elite Design Customs, y'all. Yeah, he is really dancing. Hey, hey, hey. Hey. Yeah, the baby loves this song.
No shame for this.
Hey, hey. Hey. Alright, y'all, we gotta get back to the show. Alright, y'all, we getting back to the show, y'all.
You are tuned into Power 106.3 FM KY Radio Live. Streaming on www.kyheartmedia.com.
Welcome back to Dee's Reading Corner, all things literary. I'm your host, Mr. Animated, and as always, my lovely co-host, Miss Knight from Me in the Ladies Room. How you liking the show so far?
Hey, I'm loving it. Healthy debate. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's almost like I feel like we're not getting enough time to really go in deep.
No.
And like, I know your thing is the movies. I'm more, into the books of Harry Potter because the books were my thing when they first came out. And there's a lot of material. So there's a lot of differences in things. So I know we need to get back into it. So we are going to do another section of reading. And then we're going to do a little bit of more of our Q&A and discussion and talk.
I'm sad. I kept almost going too far.
I know, you almost told it all. Y'all, him and his spoiler alerts.
I can't help it.
But we got one more song we're going to play for the night. We're going to party a little bit. We hope that everybody is enjoying today's show. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in to Dee's Corner Radio here on Power 106.3 FM KY Radio. You can tune in at www.kyheartmedia.com. You can also find us on all streaming platforms, Speaker, iHeart, Google, Apple Podcasts, and more. Definitely follow us at Facebook, Instagram at Dee's Reading Corner. That is Dee's Reading Corner. That is on Facebook, Instagram, and I believe we have a Twitter too. Do we have a Twitter?
I don't know.
I think we have a Twitter. But we are doing live streams now. So these live streams you guys can find on our Facebook page. We will put clips of it on our Instagram. But we are going to be uploading our shows to the Meeting in the Ladies Room and Power 106 FM KY Radio YouTube channel. So you can also catch the live audio and visuals on Facebook and YouTube at Power 106 FM KY Radio and Meeting in the Ladies Room KY Radio. We are expanding what we're doing a little bit. Also, shout out to those who already subscribe, like, and follow us. Please share, tag, tweet, reshare, whatever it is that you need to do. Follow, like, subscribe. Thank you guys already. We are almost at 1,000 likes. Woo! Yay! Definitely, please, guys, follow or like our pages. It means the world to us. Shout outs to our sponsors, Diamond Elite Design Customs and Mary Walls Media Brand Group. We appreciate you guys for keeping us employed and having us here. We love you guys. And thank you guys for the giveaways that y'all giving us to give away every week. So for those who did not hear before, we are giving away on May 31st 2 $50 gift cards. But every week, you can win a $10 gift card from Diamond Elite Design Customs by following our pages and answering the question of the week. So if you watch the show or listen to the show. Every week you can win a gift card and be entered to win more gift cards.
I feel like we should give them hints to what the question
No,
is.
they gotta follow. No, we
To
got
the
rules.
question.
No, we gotta. No. You gotta follow the social media. 10 p.m. We'll post the question. Be looking for the post with the book cover. The question will be something relevant to what we talked about each show. First person to answer correctly wins the $10 gift card and is entered into the drawing for the two $50 gift cards. So every week through May, so May 31st is the end of our Harry Potter and the Wizarding World series. We will be doing the drawing for the $50 gift cards, but every week, whoever answers correctly gets the $10 gift card. So once again, go follow Facebook and Instagram, because that's where the question will be posted. One of those two pages each week. We're going to switch it up. And that is Dee's Reading Corner, DEES, Reading, READING, Corner, Dee's Reading Corner. Please go follow those pages, like those pages, and stay tuned. After every show, 10 p.m., we will post the question. The person who answers correctly first wins the $10 gift card and is entered into the big drawing. So, Mr. Animated, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's take it away.
This is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. Ministry of Magic employee scoops grand prize. Arthur Weasley, head of misuse of Muggle artifacts office at the Ministry of Magic, has won the annual Daily Profit grand prize galleon draw. Worse right now. I'm sorry, folks. A delighted Mr. Weasley told the Daily Prophet, "We will be spending the gold on our summer holiday in Egypt, where our eldest son, Bill, works as a curse breaker for Gringotts Wizarding Bank. The Weasley family will be spending a month in Egypt, returning for the start of the new school year at Hogwarts, which 5 of the Weasley children currently attend." Harry scanned the moving photograph, and a grin spread across his face as he saw all 9 of the Weasleys waving fiercely at him. Standing in front of a large pyramid, plump little Mrs. Weasley, tall, balding Mr. Weasley, 6 sons and 1 daughter. Although the black and white picture didn't show it, with flaming red hair, right in the middle of the picture was Ron, tall and
gangly, with his pet rat Scabbers on his shoulder and his arm around his little sister Ginny. Harry didn't think of anyone who deserved to win a large pile of gold more than the Weasleys, who were very, very nice and extremely poor. He picked up Ron's letter and unfolded it. "Dear Harry, happy birthday. Look, I'm really sorry about that telephone call. I hope the Muggles didn't give you a hard time. I asked Dad, and he reckons I shouldn't have shouted. It's amazing here in Egypt. Bill's taking us around all the tombs, and you wouldn't believe the curses those old Egyptian wizards put on them. Mom wouldn't let Ginny come in the last one. There were all these mutant skeletons in there of Muggles who broken in and grown extra heads and stuff. I couldn't believe it when Dad won the Daily Profit draw. 700 galleons. Most of it's gone on this trip, but they're going to buy me a new wand for next year." Harry remembered only too well the occasion when Ron's old wand had snapped. It had happened when the car of the 2 of them had been flying to Hogwarts had crashed into a tree on the school grounds. "We'll be back about a week before term starts, and we'll be going up to London to get my wand and our new books. Any chance of meeting you there? Don't let the Muggles get you down. Try and come to London. Ron. P.S. Percy's head boy. He got the letter last week." Harry glanced back at the photograph. Percy, who was in his 7th and final year at Hogwarts, was looking particularly smug. He had pinned his head boy badge to the fees perched jauntily on top of his neat hair, his horn-rimmed glasses flashing in the Egyptian sun. Harry now turned to his present and unwrapped it. Inside was what looked like a miniature glass spinning top. There was another note from Ron beneath it. Harry, this is a pocket sneakoscope. If there's someone untrustworthy around, it's supposed to light up and spin. Bill says it's rubbish sold for wizard tourists and isn't reliable because it keeps lighting up at dinner last night. But he didn't realize Fred and George had put beetles in his soup. By Ron. Harry put the pocket sneakoscope on his bedside table where it stood quite still, balanced on its point, reflecting in the luminous hands of his clock. He looked at it happily for a few seconds, then picked up the parcel Hedwig had bought. Inside this, too, there were wrapped presents, a card, and a letter, this time from Hermione. Dear Harry, Ron wrote to me and told me about his phone call to your Uncle Vernon. I hope you're all right. I'm on holiday in France at the moment, and I didn't know how I was going to send this to you. What if they opened it at customs? But then Hedwig turned up. I think she wanted to make sure you got something for your birthday for a change. I bought your present by our order. There was an advertisement in the Daily Prophet. I've been getting it delivered. It's so good to keep up with what's going on in the wizarding world. Did you see that the picture of Ron and his family a week ago? I bet he's learning loads. I'm really jealous. And the ancient Egyptian wizards were fascinating. Oh, there's some interesting local history of witchcraft here, too. I've rewritten my whole history of magic essay to include some of the things I found out. I hope it's not too long. It's 2 rolls of parchment more than Professor Benz asked for. Oh, Ron says he's going to be in London in the last week of the holidays. Can you make it? Will your aunt and uncle let you come? I really hope you can. If not, I'll see you on the Hogwarts Express on September 1st. Love, Hermione. P.S. Ron says Percy's head boy. I'll bet Percy's really pleased. Ron didn't seem too happy about it. Harry laughed as he put Hermione's letter aside and picked up her present. It was very heavy. Knowing Hermione, he was sure it would be a large book full of very difficult spells, but it wasn't. His heart gave a huge bound as he ripped back the paper and saw a sleek black leather case with the silver words stamped across it reading, Broomstick Servicing Kit. Wow, Hermione, Harry whispered, unzipping the case to look inside.
There was a large jar of Fleetwood's high-finish handle polish, a pair of gleaming silver-tailed twig clippers, a tiny brass compass to clip on your broom for long journeys, and a handbook of do-it-yourself broom care. Apart from his friends, the thing that Harry missed most about Hogwarts was Quidditch, the most popular sport in the magical world. Highly dangerous, very exciting, and played on broomsticks. Harry happened to be a very good Quidditch player. He had been the youngest person in a century to be picked for one of the Hogwarts home house teams. One of Harry's most prized possessions was his Nimbus 2000 racing broom. Harry put the leather case aside and picked up his last parcel. He recognized the untidy scroll and the brown paper at once. This was from Hagrid, the Hogwarts gamekeeper. He tore off the top layer of paper and glimpsed something green and leathery. But before he could unwrap it properly, the parcel gave a strange quiver, and whatever was inside snapped loudly, as though it had jaws. Harry froze. He knew that Hagrid would never send him anything dangerous on purpose, but then Hagrid didn't have a normal person's point of view of what was dangerous. Hagrid had been known to befriend giant spiders, buy vicious 3-headed dogs from men in pubs, and sneak illegal dragon eggs into his cabin. Harry poked the parcel nervously. It snapped loudly again. Harry reached for the lamp on his bedside table, gripped it firmly in one hand, and raised it over his head. Ready to strike, then he seized the rest of the wrapping paper in his other hand and pulled. And out fell a book. Harry just had time to recognize its handsome green cover, emboli- embol- embol- embolized with a golden title, The Monster Book of Monsters, before it flipped onto its edge and scuttered sideways along the bed like some weird crab.
All right, so that is our last 10 minutes. We got a few more minutes that we're going to read here a little bit later, but we're going to get into the Q&A. Let's get to go ahead and talk about the dialogue of the book and related items, critiques, opinions, and all of that. So, once again, as we stated, the book starts off definitely different than the movie because Harry received that book at the pub. This is after he's ran away. This is after he already blew up the aunt. He done ended up on the bus and got taken to the pub. And yeah, and he's talked to the Minister of Magic and realized he's not in trouble. Goes to his room, and then the book attacks. So this, to me, was another example of how they took something from the book
and made it early on.
And they put it at the beginning of the movie or at a different place. So I guess one of the things I would say is in the book, I feel like it's very, very descriptive. And it makes you really realize how lonely of a life Harry lived outside of Hogwarts and why Hogwarts was so important to him.
The thing that I realized is that they don't put as much detail into the movies as they do in the books. For example, again, sorry, spoiler alerts. In chapter 2, when it comes to the aunt, it says that by accident he stepped on one of her dog's tail, and she let it try to attack him until it was past midnight.
Oh wow!
Like
and you don't see that in the movie at all. I think that, I mean, I get for time's sake because this was considering out of the first 3 Harry Potter books, the longer book. So they definitely had to cut out some things. I just feel like there's certain details that could have been included. Especially, about this portion you just read talking about Harry's birthday and how he received his first birthday card. And I feel like that would have opened up people more to how unloved he felt or how lonely he felt, and the fact that these 3 people thought of him the night of his birthday, right? Yeah. That he didn't even realize it was his birthday, that they thought about him and got him things. Whereas all of his life, his own family never even acknowledged his birthday. So I think that to me is like one of the things I wish could have gotten included in the movies, because then it would have made sense a little bit more of why he was reacting the way he reacted to about the information about Sirius Black and his parents, why emotionally it was so charged for him.
Another thing I noticed about this is, I lost my train of thought.
Okay. Well, here's another thing. So in the book, we talked about, they mentioned about the Weasleys and Mr. Weasley winning that prize and the 5 gallons of the money, but they mentioned about them being so very nice, but also poor. Yeah. I think that's one of the big things that I like about this book series is because you had the different economic levels, but you also had this class system, which is something you children should be learning still, I believe, in school. I don't know if y'all do or not, but you learn about the class system. And the class system in the wizarding world was like more about what kind of family you came from and whether you had muggles in your family or not, and your social standing.
Like those who have more family recognition are in the higher class. Those who have lower family recognition are
mixed bloods and all of that type of stuff, or
for example,
or people who have stature or have worked or held positions of power in the wizarding world. I think that is something that a lot of people can relate to, especially when we talk about like diversity and racism and things of that nature in the real world, it kind of takes something and makes you look at it and say, okay, that's another way to look at it, and how people deal with that type of thing.
I have an example. For example, the Malfoys versus the Weasleys.
Mm-hmm.
The Malfoys, Lucius Malfoy doesn't even really treat his son with respect.
Lucius Malfoy is a mess.
He truly is. But he doesn't treat his son.
I can't wait for next week. Because I got something to say about him. I can't wait for next week.
You're not the only one. But when it
Spoiler alert. Lucius Malfoy is a doo-doo head.
that's not what I was hoping what you were gonna say.
I'm just gonna say he's a doo-doo head. I gotta keep it clean for the babies. He's a doo-doo head. He is.
Something else. I did talk about this. It's kind of a spoiler for the next movie.
No, can't do it then. No, we said, you told me we were not talking about the next book or movie, so you cannot do it yet.
It's gonna be
okay, so let me ask you this question. So when they got to talking about the Marauders map, in the movie, we're talking about strictly the movie. Professor Snape finds Harry with it. Mm-hmm. Then Lupin, intervenes and takes the map from him.
Yep.
Because he doesn't know what Harry knows or doesn't know. But he lets it slip that he sees Peter Pettigrew on the map. And this person's supposed to be dead. Right?
Someone that was supposed to be dead because of evidence that they found.
Correct. Now, and this person, he still doesn't know all of the different connections that all of these people have. So they don't know what Harry knows. But Hermione ends up telling it about Lupin being a werewolf, not an animagus.
Which Lupin was bitten by Sirius. Because in the movie, it was said that Sirius bit him.
No, that's not how he end up becoming a werewolf.
But that's
they tell it late. See, they tell it later on.
That's what I think Ron said
but that's not how he ends up becoming a werewolf. He became a werewolf during their time as kids at Hogwarts, and how it happened actually comes out later. I know this to be a fact, so we're going to leave that right there. But you got to realize at that time, Ron's thinking this vicious dog just dragged me down through the Whomping Tree, through the Shrieking Shack, and is trying to eat me. And then it turns into the prisoner of Azkaban. The only person who has ever escaped Azkaban is now about to kill me.
But why would... Okay, I'm sorry. If someone was trying to kill you, why would they literally just do all that work? They might as well just do it.
But I mean...
No, let me finish. He might as well have just killed Ron when he took him under the Weeping Willow tree.
What?
I mean, Whomping Willow.
Whomping Willow. Well, some villains like to play with their food and their
that's just
fries.
No, that's kind of
some villains do. I mean, okay, so that's like saying comic book villains. They don't do all that monologuing before they're supposed to leave about to kill you, and then it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's just kind of how villains work. I hate to say it that way, but in that moment, that's all they knew because that's what everybody was telling them. This is what they were suspecting. They still got to remember, they didn't know that Sirius Black was the dog until Ron was like, the dog turned into him. So now everybody's freaking out and they're like, oh, he's about to kill Harry. And then here comes Lupin and they're buddying it up and Sirius is like, let's kill him. And they're like, we trusted you. And wait a minute, hold on. So then Hermione tells it, he's a werewolf. And he's like, how did you know that? And she's like, I connected the dots because of Professor Snape and comments he was making. And you keep missing classes. Now, mind you, the movie takes the course of the whole school year. Mm-hmm. So this is a whole year of him missing classes every full moon. So I'm just saying, it's suspicious that, and then for Professor Snape to keep making mentions of it and to be really like pointed about it, especially in the book. He was very pointed about it. Like he kept dropping and saying little stuff. So she picked it up.
Are we?
You know, so then with her saying that, and they're, you know, and Sirius is like, let's just kill him. And they're like, oh snap, wait a minute. And that's when Rupert finally tells them the truth about Scabbers and / Peter Pettigrew and all of that.
What do you think he could have done different to have actually gone away before they revealed his secret identity? There were several.
First of all, I'm trying to figure out why the heck he stayed on school grounds, because I'd have left. But I guess maybe he felt safe there because they were looking for Sirius, and so he thought that Sirius wouldn't be able to get on school grounds. I don't know. Me personally, I think I'd have left the country.
I will literally have just left the freaking planet. Screw that. I would have been like, yo, no, I'm leaving. Bye. Sorry.
So, I mean, you can't leave the planet, not in the wizarding world, I don't think. Look, that's a good question. Can you leave the planet in the wizarding world?
I would have left.
I mean, I don't know. I would have left the country, but you later find out, which we're not going to talk about, reason why he stuck around and what it was he was doing. We'll talk about that next week. But I think that the biggest issue I had was the reveal. I feel like the reveal deserves so much more. Because the reveal in the movie is much shorter than the book. The reveal leads to them having to go back in time to try to fix and solve everything, to rescue Buckbeak and Sirius and all of that. But they didn't get to really talk about this connection all these people had. Right?
What was your favorite part of the movie?
My favorite part of the movie. I don't know. What was yours? I have to
My
think about
favorite
it.
part was when Sirius asked if Harry would like to come live with him. Because, to me, it showed that someone actually cared about him and wanted to...
That actually
treat him with
wanted
respect.
him, whereas he's always felt unwanted.
Yeah.
Okay. I got two. And they gonna sound cruel as I'll get out.
Go ahead.
First, when Harry blew up the auntie.
Yes.
Baby.
Yes. I have to give you
That was hilarious. I died because they went into such detail in the movie, blowing her up and her floating away, and then later on, as Harry ran away,
you still
hear her hollering. So by the time he made it to the leaking cauldron, you know, they had called her and fixed her and, you know, got rid of her little memories.
The funniest part of that scene was the fact that Dudley kept getting hit in the face with buttons.
Oh, or what about the fact that when she floated out and his dad hits his knees and they scan back in, you see Dudley eating in front of the TV like ain't nothing happening.
He didn't care.
And Harry's sitting there like, oh snap, and he takes off like, oh, I gotta get out of here. He packs his stuff up. I think that
No, he
scene...
didn't do that at first. He hit his cabinet and then sat down and then looked like, oh wait, I need to get out of here.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, that whole scene, I felt like the detail on it was great. So far, an opening sequence, or the first 20 minutes, I think it was great. It also showed Harry learning to stand up for himself and saying, no, you're not going to keep talking about my parents like that. And I'm sick of it. But it also showed the unhappiness that he had there. I think my next favorite scene in the movie would probably be Hermione popping Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. I think it was a long time coming, but it was like
someone had to do it.
Somebody had to do it. But I think also that if I'm going to go with that scene, I also liked... Nope, I think that's the wrong movie. Let me stop. No, that is the right movie. They went into town, and Harry couldn't go.
So he snuck. Yeah.
He snuck out with the
Marauders map.
The Marauders map.
But
then he had the cape. He had the cape, and he was because they went to try to jump on Hermione and Ron, and he jumped them, and they didn't know what was happening, so they took off running.
Yeah.
I think I like that scene too, because it was just kind of like, you've got these bullies, and they didn't have many moments of where they, you know, got their comeuppance, but I felt like those scenes they did.
But the thing about Draco Malfoy is he acts so smug, but when the tables are turned, he literally wants to act like a coward.
What most bullies are. I hate to say it that way. Most bullies are afraid and scared. There's times where you see somebody draw their wand on him, and he's like, or like, for example, with the Buckbeak thing, and why Buckbeak was about to be executed
was because of him, because he wanted to be an idiot. It was all his fault for what happened. Sorry.
But I think that, like, with the sample of the Buckbeak situation where he caught himself being, you know, the big bully, and you know, you're not that scary at all, and then the bird jumped on him. Well, it clocked him in the arm. It didn't try to kill him, but he went, oh, it's trying to kill me, it's trying to eat me. And then after the fact, you see the scene where they're in the cafeteria hall or whatever they wanted, the Great Hall, and he's giving this story like he survived something, and he really didn't. So his character is just a big bully, but he really is a scared little coward.
Your least favorite moment?
Least favorite moment? Ooh, once again, I'm gonna have to say the big reveal. The reveal of who Sirius Black really is, who Professor Rupin was. The connection between the Marauders map and Peter Pettigrew, Rupin, Snape, Sirius Black. Well, but see, Snape actually knew about it. That you got to remember, they said Sirius knew about it. That's why, and Sirius don't like none of them, which comes out later. Why he doesn't like any of them, but he doesn't like any of them, because they all went to school together. And then two, that whole the connection thing, I think is the thing for me. I that was my least favorite. Probably, I like the fact that it came out, but I feel like it deserved more. What was yours?
The fact that he did not blow up his uncle. He deserved to be blown up.
I don't even think that he knew he was doing it.
His uncle still needs to be blown up.
Well, I feel like, but you gotta think though, Harry has to spend, like he says in the books, his summers have to be spent there. So he can't purposely go after the uncle at this point, because what choices? But I think in his mind that if it goes too far, then what? They could prevent him from going to what he considers his happy place, which is school and things of that nature.
Good thing.
They're his guardians. Now remember, hold on. Up until the reveal, those are his guardians. And that's kind of why I said I feel like that section of the book, if it had been included in the movie, it would have tied into why Harry, when he found out the so-called story of Sirius Black and his parents and who he was supposed to be to him, then at the end, the big reveal and information there, why Harry reacted the way he reacted, I think all of it tied in. And because that piece is missing, if you've never read the book, then you don't get it. Speaking of being somebody's guardian. You see what I'm saying? So like with you saying, Sirius asking him would he want to come live with him, that was a big moment, because that's somebody that loves me and wants me. Whereas he's felt unwanted and unloved his whole life. So I think that ties back into that.
There's one last thing I actually want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It actually has something to do with the fact of Sirius Black and stuff.
Okay.
It turned, okay, for me, the fact of, dang it, I done lost it again. I don't know why, but I'm losing my...
I think we're going to start writing down your little points, sir. I think you're going to start writing them down, sir. Okay, so I know we're getting to the last bit of our time. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in to Dee's Corner Radio here on Power 106.3 FM KY Radio. Today we were talking about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. If you just now are tuning in, thank you guys for coming in. We are going to once again be posting our weekly giveaway question on one of our pages, either on Facebook or Instagram at Dee's Reading Corner. That is Dee's Reading Corner. That is Facebook and Instagram. You will be eligible to win for the week the $10 gift card from Diamond Elite Design Customs and enter into the drawing for the two $50 gift cards that we will be giving away May 31st. How you qualify to win is you find the post with the book cover and answer the question, be the first person to answer correctly, and you win this week's prize and are entered into the drawing that will happen on May 31st. We are going to be covering Harry Potter and the Wizarding World all the way through May 31st. We are definitely, as y'all can tell, really into this and excited about this thing. So I definitely want you guys to join in with us and get involved with this. So that is one of the ways. Please go share, tag, tweet, follow, like all of our posts and our pages. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. So our conversation got kind of deep. So I know Mr. Animate's got one more thing, and then we are going to go ahead and close out the show with some more reading. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Next week's book selection is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. We will be reading from the first parts of the book. So you guys, if you want to read the book, go ahead, read the book and watch the movie. But we will read from the first few chapters of the book. But next week, we are going to be talking about Goblet of Fire, and we'll go touch back on some of the stuff from the previous books and how it's led to that book. So this is going to be a constant conversation that is going to be happening for the next couple of weeks. So once again, thank you to Mary Walls Media Brand Group and Diamond Elite Design Customs for being sponsors of Dee's Corner. Once again, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, I believe Twitter at Dee's Reading Corner, and Power 106 FMKY Radio. You also can find the live stream video on Facebook at Dee's Reading Corner. That is Dee's Reading Corner. And the page says Dee's Corner Radio. Also, we are now going to be putting our live stream videos up on YouTube at Meeting in the Ladies Room Radio. We have graciously decided that we are going to share a YouTube channel. So please go follow, subscribe to that page. So that is Meeting in the Ladies Room KY Radio on YouTube. But on Facebook, Instagram, it is Dee's Reading Corner and Power 106 FM KY Radio. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Mr. Animated, let's go ahead and close out this Q&A and get back to this reading.
Okay. What is the one thing you notice about every person that has been to Azkaban? It is on their body.
It was a tattoo or something that they had.
They have a crest on their chest that I'm assuming a Dementor put on them.
Really?
After a certain amount of time, I'm assuming if a certain amount of time a Dementor constantly does it to you, I'm assuming that starts to appear in you.
You talking about the Dementor's kiss thing?
Yes, the Dementor's kiss. I think that tattoo or whatever it was, it starts to actually symbolize the fact that you were in Azkaban, and it's now going to also be a part of you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know next week you're saying we're going to get more into the Dementors thing because it's going to come up a little bit more. That way we're not spoiling.
I'm sorry.
Some things. So I know we said we're going to really get into the Dementors thing. So once again, guys, if you are tuned in, if you watch us every week, you can send us inboxes. You can comment on the lives and we will respond. But next week, we want you guys to get involved with the conversation because we want to start talking about everything that's happening in the last 4 books. And we want to talk more about a lot of the things that have been happening because there's things we can't say right now that we can say next week and we can be openly saying. But I know next week we talked about we're going to really get into the mentors and some of the things that were touched on. But there's big reveals in year 4, which is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So definitely, guys, tune in, comment. We thank you guys. Once again, follow, like, share, tweet, tag, the whole 9. We appreciate you. So we are now going to get back into the book. We are starting with chapter 2, Aunt Marge's Big Mistake. Harry went down to breakfast the next morning to find the 3 Dursleys already sitting around the kitchen table. They were watching a brand new television, a welcome home for the summer present for Dudley, who had been complaining loudly about the long walk between the fridge and the television in the living room. Dudley had spent most of the summer in the kitchen, his piggy little eyes fixed on the screen and his 5 chins wobbling as he ate continuously. Harry sat down between Dudley and Uncle Vernon, a large beefy man with very little neck and a lot of mustache. Far from wishing Harry a happy birthday, none of the Dursleys made any sign that they had noticed Harry enter the room. But Harry was far too used to this to care. He helped himself to a piece of toast and then looked up at the reporter on the television, who was halfway through a report on an escaped convict. The public is warned that Black is armed and extremely dangerous. A little hotline has been set up and any sighting of Black should be reported immediately. No need to tell us he's no good, snorted Uncle Vernon, staring over the top of his newspaper at the prisoner. Look at the stare of him. The filthy layabout. Look at his hair. He shot a nasty look sideways at Harry, whose untidy hair had always been a source of great annoyance to Uncle Vernon. Compared to the man on the television, however, whose gaunt face, surrounded by a matted elbow-length tangle, Harry felt very well groomed indeed. The reporter had reappeared. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will announce today. Hang on, barked Uncle Vernon, staring furiously at the reporter. You didn't tell us where that maniacs escaped from. What use is that? Lunatic could be coming up the street right now. Aunt Petunia, who was bony and horse-faced, whipped around and peered intently out of the kitchen window. Harry knew Aunt Petunia would simply love to be the one to call the hotline number. She was the nosiest woman in the world and spent most of her life spying on the boring, law-abiding neighbors. When will they learn? Said Uncle Vernon, pounding on the table with his large purple fist. That's hanging's the only way to deal with these people. Very true, said Aunt Petunia, who was still squinting into the next door's running beads. Uncle Vernon drained his teacup, glanced at his watch, and added, I better be off in a minute, Petunia. Marge's train gets in at 10. Harry, whose thoughts had been upstairs with the broomstick servicing kit, was brought back to earth with an unpleasant bump. Aunt Marge, he blurted out. She's not coming here, is she? Aunt Marge was Uncle Vernon's sister, even though she was not a blood relative of Harry's, whose mother had been Aunt Petunia's sister. He had been forced to call her aunt all of his life. Aunt Marge lived in the country in a house with a large garden where she bred bulldogs. She didn't often stay at Pivot Drive because she couldn't bear to leave her precious dogs, but each of her visits stood out horribly vividly in Harry's mind. At Dudley's 5th birthday party, Aunt Marge had whacked Harry around the shins with her walking stick to stop him from beating Dudley at musical statues. A few years later, she had turned up at Christmas with a computerized robot for Dudley and a box of dog biscuits for Harry. On her last visit, the year before Harry started Hogwarts, Harry had accidentally trodden on the tail of her favorite dog. Ripper had chased Harry out into the garden and up a tree, and Aunt Marge had refused to call him off until past midnight. The memory of this incident still brought tears of laughter to Dudley's eyes.
Marge will be here for a week, Uncle Vernon snarled, and while we're on the subject, he pointed a fat finger threateningly at Harry. We need to get a few things straight before I go and collect her. Dudley smirked and withdrew his gaze from the television. Watching Harry being bullied by Uncle Vernon was Dudley's favorite form of entertainment. Firstly, growled Uncle Vernon, you'll keep a civil tongue in your head when you're talking to Marge. All right, said Harry bitterly, if she does when she's talking to me. Secondly, said Uncle Vernon, acting as though he had not heard Harry's reply, as Marge doesn't know anything about your abnormality, I don't want any funny stuff while she's here. You behave yourself, got me? I will if she does, said Harry.
through gritted teeth. And thirdly, said Uncle Vernon, his mean little eyes now slits in his great purple face, we've told Marge that you attend St. Brutus Secure Center for the Incurably Criminal Boys. What? Harry yelled. And you'll be sticking to that story, boy, or there'll be trouble, spat Uncle Vernon. Harry sat there, white-faced and furious, staring at Uncle Vernon, hardly able to believe it. Aunt Marge coming for a week-long visit. It was the worst birthday present the Dursleys had ever given him, including that pair of Uncle Vernon's old socks. Well, Petunia, said Uncle Vernon, getting heavily to his feet, I'll be off to the station then. Want to come along for a ride, Dudders? No, said Dudley, whose attention had returned to the television now that Uncle Vernon had finished threatening Harry. Dudley's got to make himself smart for his auntie, said Aunt Petunia, smoothing Dudley's thick blonde hair. Mommy's brought him a lovely new bow tie. Uncle Vernon clapped Dudley on his porky shoulder. See you in a bit then, he said, and he left the kitchen.
Harry, who had been sitting in a kind of horrified trance, had a sudden idea. Abandoning his toes, he had gotten quickly to his feet and followed Uncle Vernon to the front door. Uncle Vernon was pulling on his car coat. I'm not taking you with me, he snarled as he turned to see Harry watching him. Like I want to come, said Harry coldly. I want to ask you something. Uncle Vernon eyed him suspiciously. Third year at Hog at my school are about to visit the village sometimes. So, snapped Uncle Vernon, taking his car keys from a hook next to the door. I need you to sign the permission form, said Harry in a rush. And why should I do that? Sneered Uncle Vernon. Well, said Harry, choosing his words carefully, it'll be hard work pretending to Aunt Marge I go to St. Brutus Secure Center for Incurable Criminal Boys. Bellowed Uncle Vernon, and Harry was pleased to hear a definite note of panic in Uncle Vernon's voice. Excellent, said Harry, looking calmly. Exactly, said Harry, looking calmly up at Uncle Vernon's large purple face. It's a lot to remember. I'll have to make it sound convincing, won't I? What if I accidentally let something slip? You'll get the stuffing knocked out of you, won't you? Roared Uncle Vernon, advancing on Harry with his fist raised. But Harry stood his ground. Knocking the stuffing out of me won't make Aunt Marge forget what I could tell her, he said grimly. Uncle Vernon stopped, his fist still raised, his face an ugly punce. But if you sign my permission form, Harry went on quickly, I swear I'll remember where I'm supposed to go to school, and I'll act like a normal in everything. Harry could tell that Uncle Vernon was thinking it over. Even his teeth were bared, and a vein was throbbing in his temple. Right, he snapped finally. I shall monitor your behavior carefully during Marge's visit. If, at the end of it, you've told the line and kept to the story, I'll sign your ruddy form.
He wheeled around and pulled open the front door and slammed it so hard that one of the little panes of glass at the top fell out. Harry didn't return to the kitchen. He went back upstairs to his bedroom. If he was going to act like a real muggle, he better start now. Slowly and sadly, he gathered up all of his presents and his birthday cards and hid them under the loose floorboard with his homework. Then he went to Hedwig's cage. Earl seemed to have recovered. He and Hedwig were both asleep, heads under their wings. Harry sighed and then poked them both awake. Hedwig, he said gloomily, you're going to have to clear off for the week. Go with Earl. Ron will look after you. I'll write him a note explaining, and don't look at me like that. Hedwig's large amber eyes were reproachful. It's not my fault. It's the only way I'll be allowed to visit Hogsmeade with Ron and Hermione. 10 minutes later, Earl and Hedwig, who had a note to rhyme bound to her leg, soared out of the window and out of sight. Harry, now feeling thoroughly miserable, put the empty cage away inside the wardrobe. But Harry didn't have long to brood, and next to no time, Aunt Petunia was shrieking up the stairs for Harry to come down and get ready to welcome their guests. "Do something about your hair," Aunt Petunia snapped as he reached the hall. Harry couldn't see the point of trying to make his hair lay flat. Aunt March loved criticizing him, so the untidier he looked, the happier she would be. All too soon, there was a crunch of gravel outside as Uncle Vernon's car pulled back into the driveway, and then the clunk of the car doors and footsteps on the garden path. "Get the door!" Aunt Petunia hissed at Harry. A feeling of great gloom in his stomach, Harry pulled the door open. On the threshold stood Aunt March. She was very like Uncle Vernon, large, beefy, and purple-faced. She even had a mustache, though not as bushy as his. In one hand, she held an enormous suitcase, and tucked under the other was an old and evil-tempered bulldog. "Where's my dudders?" roared Aunt March. "Where's my nephew?" Dudley came waddling down the hall, his blonde hair plastered flat to his fat head and a bow tie just visible under his many chins. Aunt March thrust the suitcase into Harry's stomach, knocking the wind out of him, seized Dudley in a tight one-armed hug, and planted a large kiss on his cheek. Harry knew perfectly well that Dudley only put up with Aunt March's hugs because he was well paid for it. And sure enough, when they broke apart, Dudley had a crisp 20-pound note clutched in his fat fist. "Petunia!" shouted Aunt March, striding past Harry as though he was a hat stand. Aunt March and Petunia kissed, or rather, Aunt March bumped her large jaw against Aunt Petunia's bony cheekbone. Uncle Vernon now came in, smiling jovially as he shut the door. "Tea, March," he said. "And what will Ripper take?" "Ripper can have some tea out of my saucer," said Aunt March as they proceeded into the kitchen, leaving Harry alone with the suitcase. But Harry wasn't complaining. Any excuse not to be with Aunt March was fine by him, so he began to heave this case upstairs into the spare bedroom, taking as long as he could.
By the time he got back to the kitchen, Aunt March had been supplied with tea and fruitcake, and Ripper was lapping noisily in the corner. Harry saw Aunt Petunia wince slightly as specks of tea and drool flecked her clean floor. Aunt Petunia hated animals. "Who's looking after the other dogs, Marge?" Uncle Vernon asked. "Oh, I've got Colonel Fobster managing them," boomed Aunt Marge. "He's retired now. Good for him to have something to do, but I couldn't leave poor old Ripper. He pines if he's away from me." Ripper began to growl again as Harry sat down. This directed Aunt Marge's attention to Harry for the first time. "So," she barked, "still here, are you?" "Yes," said Harry. "Don't you say yes in that ungrateful tone," Aunt Marge growled.
I will read this part.
Yes, please.
"It is blank good of Vernon and Petunia to keep you. Wouldn't have done it myself. You'd gone straight to the orphanage if you dumped on my doorstep." Harry was bursting to say he'd rather live in an orphanage than with the Dursleys, but the thought of Hogsmeade Farm stopped him. He forced his face into a painful smile. "Don't you smirk at me," boomed Aunt Marge. "I can see you haven't improved since I last saw you. I hope school would knock some manners into you." She took a large gulp of tea, wiped her mustache, and said, "Where is it that you send him again, Vernon?"
"St. Brutus," said Uncle Vernon promptly. "It's a first-rate institution for hopeless cases." "I see," said Aunt Marge. "Do they use the cane at St. Brutus's, boys?" She barked across the table, Uncle Vernon nodded curtly behind Marge's back. "Yes," said Harry. Then, feeling he might as well do the thing properly, he added all the time. Excellent, said Aunt Marge. I won't have this nabby-pabby, wishy-washy nonsense about not hitting people who deserve it. A good thrashing is what's needed in 99 cases out of 100. Have you been being often? Oh yeah, said Harry, loads of times. Aunt Marge narrowed her eyes. I still don't like your tone, boy, she said. If you can speak of your beatings in that casual way, they clearly aren't hitting you hard enough. Petunia, I'd write if I were you. Make it clear that you approve the use of extreme force in this boy's case. Perhaps Uncle Vernon was worried that Harry might forget their bargain. In any case, he changed the subject abruptly.
Heard the news this morning, Marge? What about that escaped prisoner, eh? As Aunt Marge started to make herself at home, Harry caught himself thinking almost longingly of life at number 4 without her. Uncle Marge and Aunt Petunia usually encouraged Harry to stay out of their way, which Harry was only too happy to do. Aunt Marge, on the other hand, wanted Harry under her eye at all times so that she could boom out suggestions for his improvements. She delighted in comparing Harry with Dudley and took huge pleasure in buying Dudley expensive presents while glaring at Harry, as though daring him to ask why he hadn't got a present too. She also kept throwing out dark hints about what made Harry such an unsatisfactory person. You mustn't blame yourself for the way the boys turned out, Vernon, she said over lunch on the third day. If there's something rotten on the inside, there's nothing anyone can do about it. Harry tried to concentrate on his food, but his hands shook and his face was starting to burn with anger. Remember the form, he told himself. Think about Hogsmeade. Don't say anything. Don't rise. Aunt Marge reached for her glass of wine. It's one of the basic rules of breeding, she said. You see it all the time with dogs. If there's something wrong with then there is something wrong with the pup. At that moment, the wine glass Aunt Marge was holding exploded in her hand. Shards of glass flew in every direction, and Aunt Marge sputtered and blinked, her great ruddy face dripping. Marge, squealed Aunt Petunia. Marge, are you all right? Not to worry, grunted Aunt Marge, mopping her face with her napkin. Must have squeezed it too hard. Did the same thing at Colonel Flupster's the other day. No need to fuss, Petunia. I have a very firm grip. But Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon were both looking at Harry suspiciously, so he decided he better skip dessert and escape from the table as soon as he could. Outside in the hall, he leaned against the wall, breathing deeply. It had been a long time since he lost control and made something explode. He couldn't afford to let it happen again. The Hogsmeade form wasn't the only thing at stake. If he carried on like that, he'd be in trouble with the Ministry of Magic. Harry was still an underage wizard, and he was forbidden by wizard law to do magic outside of school. His record wasn't exactly clean either. Only last summer he got an official warning that had stated quite clearly that if Ministry got word of any more magic at Pivot Drive, Harry would face expulsion from Hogwarts. He heard the Dursleys leaving the table and hurried upstairs out of the way. Harry got through the next 3 days by forcing himself to think about his handbook of do-it-yourself room care whenever Aunt Marge started on him. This worked quite well, though it seemed to give him a glazed look because Aunt Marge started voicing the opinion that he was mentally subnormal. At long last, the final evening of Marge's stay arrived. Aunt Petunia cooked a fancy dinner, and Uncle Vernon uncorked several bottles of wine. They got all the way through the soup and the salmon without a single mention of Harry's faults. During the lemon meringue pie, Uncle Vernon bored all of them with long talk about Grunnings, his drill-making company, and then Aunt Petunia made coffee and Uncle Vernon brought out a bottle of brandy. Can I tempt you, Marge? Aunt Marge had already had quite a lot of wine. Her huge face was very red. Just a small one, then she chuckled. And a bit more for that, and a bit more, and that's the ticket. Dudley was eating his 4th slice of pie. Aunt Petunia was sipping coffee with her little finger sticking out. Harry really wanted to disappear into his bedroom, but when he met Uncle Vernon's angry little eyes, he knew he would have to sit it out. Ah, said Aunt Marge, smacking her lips and putting the empty brandy glass back down. Excellent notch, Petunia. It normally just a fry up for me of an evening with 12 dogs to look after. She burped richly and patted her great tweed stomach. Pardon me, but I do like to see a healthy sized boy, she went on, winking at Dudley. You'll be a proper sized man, Dudders, like your father. Yes, I have a spot more, Brent, indeed, Vernon. Now this one here, she jerked her head at Harry, who felt his stomach clench. The handbook, he thought quickly. This one got a mean runty look about him. You'll get that with dogs. I had Colonel Fuster drown one last year. Ratty little thing it was, weak, underbred. Harry was trying to remember page 12 of his handbook, a charm to cure reluctant reverses. It all comes down to the blood, as I was saying the other day. Bad blood will out. Now, I am saying nothing against your family, Petunia. She patted Petunia's bony hand with her shovel like one. But your sister was a bad egg. They turn up in the best families. Then she ran off with a rostral, and here's the result right in front of us. Harry was staring at his plate, a funny ring in his ear. Grasp your broom firmly by the tail, he thought. But then he couldn't remember what came next. Aunt Marge's voice seemed to be boring into him like one of Uncle Vernon's drills. This, Potter, said Aunt Marge loudly, seizing the brandy bottle and splashing more into her glass and over the tablecloth. You never told me what he did. Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia were looking extremely tense. Dudley had even looked up for his pie to gape at his parents. He didn't work, said Uncle Vernon, with a half glance at Harry, unemployed. As I expected, said Aunt Marge, taking a huge swig of brandy and wiping her chin on her sleeve. A no-account, good-for-nothing, lazy scrounger who... He was not, said Harry suddenly. The table went very quiet. Harry was shaking all over. He had never felt so angry in his life. More brandy, yelled Uncle Vernon, who had gone very, very white. He emptied the bottle into Aunt Marge's glass. You boy, he snarled at Harry. Go to bed. Go on. No, Vernon, hiccuped Aunt Marge, holding up her hand, her tiny bloodshot eyes fixed on Harry. Go on, boy. Go on. Proud of your parents, are you? They go and get themselves killed in a car crash drunk, I expect. They didn't die in a car crash, said Harry, who found himself on his feet. They died in a car crash, you nasty little liar, and left you to be a burden on their decent, hard-working relatives, screamed Aunt Marge, swelling with fury. You are an insolent, ungrateful little... But Aunt Marge suddenly stopped speaking. She seemed to be swelling with inexpressible anger, but the swelling didn't stop. Her great red face started to expand. Her tiny eyes bulged, and her mouth stretched too tightly for speech. Next second, several buttons had just burst from her tweed jacket and pinged off the walls. She was inflating like a monstrous balloon, her stomach bursting free of her tweed waistband, each of her fingers blowing up like salami. Marge! Yelled Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia together as Aunt Marge's whole body began to rise off her chair towards the ceiling. She was entirely round now, like a vast life buoy with piggy eyes, and her hands and feet stuck out weirdly as she drifted into the air, making apocalyptic popping noises. Ripper came skidding into the room, barking madly. No! Uncle Vernon seized one of Marge's feet and tried to pull her down again, but was almost lifted off the floor himself. A second later, Ripper leaped forward and sank his teeth into Uncle Vernon's leg. Harry tore from the dining room before anyone could stop him, heading for the cupboard under the stairs. The cupboard door burst magically open as he reached it. In seconds, he heaved his trunk from the front stairs. He sprinted upstairs and threw himself under the bed, wrenching up the loose floorboard and grabbed the pillowcase full of his book's birthday presents. He wiggled out, seized Hedwig's empty cage, and dashed back downstairs to his trunk, just as Uncle Vernon burst out of the dining room, his trouser leg in bloody tatters. Come back in here, he bellowed. Come back and put her right. But a reckless rage had come over Harry. He kicked his trunk open, pulled out his wand, and pointed at Uncle Vernon. She deserved it, Harry breathed in very fast. She deserved what she got. You keep away from me. He fumbled behind him for the latch on the door. I'm going, Harry said. I've had enough. And in the next moment, he was out in the dark, quiet street, heaving his trunk behind him, Hedwig's cage under his arm. All right. That is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. We read the first 2 chapters. Thank you guys for tuning in. Mr. Animated, you want to close us out?
How about we do it together?
Nah,
Oh,
you can
come
do it.
on.
Nah, you can do it. But once again, for those who just tuned in shortly ago, next week we will be reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Once again, to enter our contest for the $10 gift card and the $50 gift cards, please go follow us at Dee's Reading Corner on Facebook and Instagram. By 10 p.m., we will be posting the question of the week. So if you tuned in today, please go back and listen. The question of the week will be posted tonight on one of our social media pages. First person to answer correctly will win a $10 gift card from Diamond Elite Design Customs and be entered into the 2 gift card drawing for $50 each on May 31st. So from now to May 31st, we will be covering Harry Potter and the Wizarding World. We will be going book and film week to week. So definitely, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, please follow, like, share, tag, tweet, tell all your friends and family about us here at Dee's Corner Radio. And Mr. Animated, take us out.
I'm Mr. Animated. This is Dee's Corner, and I will read with you later.
Good night.
Woo!
Yeah, this is a story that goes down from the dark into the town when we visit.